Dan, welcome to the Entrepreneurship Sucks podcast. How you doing today? How you feeling?
I'm doing great, feeling great. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Glad to have you on. I know we tried this a couple times, but as you know, entrepreneurship does suck, and but I'm glad we're here. We got a question that we like to kick the shows off with. You ready for it?
Sure.
All right. The question is, what does entrepreneurship sucks mean to Mr. Dan?
The first thing that comes to my mind is just like dealing with all the bullshit that comes up on a day-to-day basis, especially when it's like out of control. We were talking before Kevin jumped on whether it's clients having client issues or team issues, or it's just like dealing with your own mental bullshit as well that gets in the way of you scaling or growing. So,
It's a good answer. Was
yeah.
it? I can edit that part out. My bad. No, that's a I didn't know it's so loud. It's attached to the boomstick, so I think that's why it's so loud. Right.
I like to ask people that question to start things off, man, and like because everybody I feel like has like a different interpretation of what that means, and like, dude, the whole purpose of this podcast is like to just kind of have a safe place to like come and like, you know, in our marketing, we like self-deprecate and we talk about like struggles and stuff, but it's all to, for, marketing purposes and ultimately to like, to get people to buy and nurture them through your funnel, right? But like this is like the locker room talk. Like this is where we, really dig into like what's the toughest shit you've been through as an entrepreneur? Like, why was it so tough? How you overcame it, right? Because ultimately, like as entrepreneurs, we know, man, like there's no going back. So like no matter how much it sucks, you have to level yourself up. So that's kind of the purpose of what we like to discuss here on the podcast, right? So like tell us a little bit about your journey, man. Let's start like at the beginning. Like, and not so much also don't feel like you have to be totally business focused either, because like this is about Dan the entrepreneur as a person as well, right? So
Yeah,
go for it, man.
cool. Well, love it. Yeah, I got no shortage of entrepreneurship sucks moments. Starting from like the beginning, I never intended to be an entrepreneur. I never intended to get into the online space at all. It kind of just happened by accident. And because I grew up playing hockey. Just like any Canadian kid, but it's also Eastern European. So my brother-in-law, he played professional hockey. So I looked up to him and that was like the entire dream. And then, yeah, eventually I tore a ligament in my spine when I was 16 or 17 years old. And I like literally couldn't even get out of bed one morning. So I was bedridden for a couple weeks. And then, yeah, I knew that dream, I had to let go of it. So I just kind of trudged through high school, not knowing what I was going to do. I was initially just going to become a physiotherapist, live a normal life. But I started a door-to-door job when I was 17 in the winter. And again, here in Canada, it gets like minus 20, minus 30 degrees Celsius, whatever that is in like Fahrenheit. And it, again, I wasn't an entrepreneur but that was the first moment of like, wow, this sucks. I was door knocking, selling exterior painting for homes, but it paid more than minimum wage and I got commissions of it. So I just kind of dealt with it, especially given that I was going to university the next year. And once the summer hit, I was still door knocking for the painting side, but I started working for the window cleaning side as well. So I had two different managers, two different bosses, and within the first couple months of working for the window cleaner, which was so much easier to do, he asked me, he's like, "Hey man, like you're an absolute shark. You just get stuff done. You book in a lot of jobs. Have you ever considered becoming a franchisee?" And instantly, I'm very hard-headed. Like, if I have a plan, I try not to divert from that plan. So I was like, nope, I see what you guys do. It seems way too hard. I just want to be a physiotherapist. That's it. A few days later, I had my weekly meeting with my painting manager. Same question came up. Have you ever considered becoming a franchisee? And I asked her, I was like, did you two talk like behind my back? And she didn't even know what I was talking about. She's like, no, like I didn't talk to anybody about this. Why? And I told her that I got the exact same question within the same week. Again, I was at that point 18 years old in the summer right before university. And I was like, holy shit. I mean, like, there must be something here. If two of my managers are seeing something in me, especially as a part-time worker, because it's super common for full-time staff to get the franchisee position because they're so close to the business. I was just a door-to-door guy. So
You said
I went along with it.
You were 18 at the
Sorry.
time?
Yeah, I was 18. So I went along with it, and I had to get my parents to like sign off on a contract at the time. They weren't too thrilled about that decision at all. I remember my mom trying to convince me, again, classic Eastern European mother, being like, you should just focus on university, finish university, and then focus on whatever else you want to do. My dad, being the sort of Soviet era dad, was just like, I have no clue why you're doing this. You're not going to get anything out of it. But if you want to do it, sure, like I'll sign off on it. So at least I had like half permission from my dad, and I only needed one parent to sign off in it. So I was like, okay, I'm set. And yeah, and that's where sort of that entrepreneurial journey began. And 2019, I went through like the hardest year of my life. I mean, again, I was 18, 19 years old, managing a team of like 10 people that are all older than me. And I tried to be like friends with all of them because that's just how, like, that's why I enjoyed working with some of the people growing up. So that was a big mistake. I ended up firing one crew because they're just not good. The second crew that I was relying on too much, they basically got poached. And the third crew just did not respect me whatsoever. So yeah, I ended up painting some houses myself just to get through the season. And by the time the season ended, I was just so severely burnt out. Like it was brutal. I went back to university and I just skipped classes constantly because I literally had spent the last year basically from like 6, 7 in the morning up until 10, 11 at night, painting houses, doing door knocking, just admin work, managing a team, cold calling especially. That was a big thing that I was doing in university, just outside of like, or inside I wasn't in a dorm, but I was just renting an apartment from someone. And yeah, I would go do my 5 courses at university, come back home, 3 hours of cold calling every night, Monday to Thursday. Friday, I would bus home to my home city because I was 2 hours away, do estimates all throughout the weekend, bus back to university Sunday night, repeat the whole process.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was that. I was 18, 19 years old. And when April ended, like we all left, like, everyone was off of university. And I remember getting ready for May. Like I had the biggest anxiety because at that point, I painted houses for maybe like 2 full days. Like we basically learned how to paint houses ourselves a couple of days before we started training our painters. So I was like, holy shit, like I'm about to train 6 different painters how to paint a house, even though I just learned myself a couple of days ago. I'm 19 years old at the time, and I had to wake up, like I said, at basically 6 in the morning just to show up at the job site at 7, while all my friends were enjoying their time off from university, just partying, whatever. Yeah, that was the first sort of entrepreneurship sucks moment.
Dude, that sounds like such a grind. And how old are you now?
24.
24? So that was only 5 years ago.
Yep. Yeah. Quite recent.
Do you ever, I feel like Kevin had a question, but I want to ask this real quick. Do you ever look at your friends or like, in that moment, were you looking at your friends being like, maybe I should have just gotten a job? Like, do you ever regret doing all that?
Now, definitely not. Back then, I remember I was never a clubber. Like, I honestly just hated drinking or partying. But I went to a club because it was whatever, some friend's party. And I remember feeling like such deep envy of the people there because I was like, holy crap, like these people are just having fun. They're not waking up tomorrow morning with any stress. They're probably just, enjoying their time off from university again. And as a 19-year-old, I was like, I'm growing up way too fast. So that was kind of like the excuse I was giving myself. I was like, this sucks. All these people are enjoying their time. And here I am basically just struggling. Like there were multiple times during the season where I would just like go to my car and just cry because I was just like, I was so beyond overwhelmed and so beyond stressed, managing people that didn't respect me, managing clients that probably didn't respect me either because I was so young. And especially the area of the city I was working with a lot of like high net worth people. They were kind, but there were some people that were really hard headed. So yeah, it was tough. I messed up so much that year.
Mm.
So you did that for what, like a year?
Yeah, I did that for a year. After like literally the first few months of doing that, I was like, I'm only doing it for this 1 year and I'm not coming back.
Yep.
Not
And then,
doing
so
this
what did
again.
you do? You said you went back to university, but you were skipping a bunch of classes. So like, what happened from there? Like, what was the transition? Was it just like abrupt, like drop that, go back to school, pursue what you were originally pursuing? Like, where did the shift happen again? Or like, help me understand.
Yeah, so as soon as the season started, so this was like the winter of 2019, I was watching YouTube videos or listening to podcasts, and I found out that there's a thing called like Amazon FBA and like drop shipping and that you can make money online. I was like, oh my God, like I didn't know this was possible at all.
This is while you were in
So I knew, like I found out about online business, making money online, but I was already like committed to this sort of thing. And I was like, damn it, like this is bad timing. But I told myself I'll wrap this up and then I'll look at the online business stuff. And when the season did end, the manager on the painting side that asked me if I wanted to become a franchisee, she was also my business coach when I was a franchisee. She has a brother that to this day still like teaches people basically how to start a media buying agency and all that good stuff. And I bought his course because I kind of knew him mutually. I was like, you know what, why not? This might be my step into like digital marketing. Again, I was so burnt out, and part of that course required cold calling, and I was just so scarred at that point from cold calling. I basically bought like a $5,000 course and just let it sit there until the new year. And this was like September, October. I was just like, yeah, I'll get to that soon. So yeah, and then the rest of that sort of fall period, I just, like I said, skip classes. I would sleep for between like 10 to 14 hours a night. Like I would go to bed late and then I would just wake up super late.
Yeah, because with the burnout comes like depression and like, yeah, there's a lot that comes along with it.
Yeah, 100%. I was going to say, like, I don't want to necessarily put the label of depression on it, but I did feel depressed during that time because I was just so tired. I didn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Like I said, I wasn't a big drinker, didn't really enjoy partying, but I started to get into that sort of stuff. Like I started drinking more, I started smoking weed just to kind of like escape, just to kind of, well, I guess numb it, you could say, but because going back to my point of like, oh, I'm growing up too fast. Like this was my almost like justification. Like I need to experience these things while I'm, at this age because it's the normal thing to do.
Right.
And yeah, like basically I bought that course. Funny thing is then somehow got targeted by like Jason Capital and that whole ecosystem and bought one of his courses, went through it, had no clue. I think it was like an appointment setting thing. Had no clue what I was doing, what I was learning. But he had like an upsell to go to his event this was January 2020, right before everything shut down. So I remember sitting in my bedroom because I didn't know if this was a scam. I was like, I've never been to an event like this. So I sat there journaling. I was like, all the pros and cons of going or not going. I only had pros, I had no cons. So I went. It was super cheap in terms of like the actual ticket. When I got there, like I did have profit from my last business, but I was trying to not spend it so fast. So I was literally just like going to like Carl's Jr. in between the sessions just to keep things as cheap as possible, just to eat. And yeah, again, like I bought a course there. So I like bought 3 courses within the span of like 4 months. And that was like teaching you how to also basically start a white label agency. Again, I didn't know any of the terminology. I was just like, let me try this thing. Try to start that up around, January. And then COVID hit. Same thing. I was just like, I'm not joining any of these lectures online because I joined one and it was so boring to do it over Zoom. So I was like, I'm not going to do this. I know that all of these exams like everybody's going to cheat. Everyone's just going to use their notes, open their textbooks, do it with friends. I'm just going to do the same. That's what I did. And I basically just started using that time to try and build a business, which again didn't work. I was outreaching to people. I didn't even know what services I was providing. It was just like this big mess of me trying to figure it out. And eventually it got to a point where I met someone through Instagram who kind of became like almost like a mentor of mine. He was, at the time I was like 20 and he was maybe 27, 28. So he was almost like an older brother that was experienced online. And he recommended me to join this basically Instagram growth company as like an affiliate to sell for them. So I did. And he taught me sales. He taught me how to like run through the pitch deck and everything. And I ended up getting my first sort of online commission, I think maybe in June of 2020. So I had spent probably 6 months up to that point trying to make money, trying to do something. Nothing came of it, but like I got that first sale, I remember, and like I just had a rush. I was like, oh my God, like, okay, this is something.
You were doing affiliate marketing for this, it was a coaching program or a course?
It's like straight up just Instagram growth, I believe. Like, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's just like, they'll just basically give you followers.
Who is it?
So, sorry?
Who was it?
They're called Grow With Us.
No, who's the guy that you were talking about though?
It's like my mentor?
Yeah.
His name is Brad Partner. I don't know if he's watching any of these, but if he is, shout out to you, Brad.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
prior to getting back into sales and launching this business with Joshua, I ran an Instagram shout out network of like 180 accounts, all with like 50,000 to like 10 million followers each. So I wasn't sure if I knew him.
Yeah. So yeah, my mentor was Brad, but yeah, then I started working with like Grow With Us, which was ran by like Dre Medici and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, like I started making some commissions. I was basically, again, doing outreach on Instagram, setting my own appointments, closing my own appointments, and just running through it. It was quite the grind, but I learned a lot throughout that summer. And that's kind of what I went full time into, just high ticket sales. And I made wasn't making any crazy amount, but I made a decent amount of money to feel confident enough to drop out of university at that point. Because again, like midsummer, there was no end of lockdown. I didn't really have any plans of going back to university. I stopped enjoying, because I was in kinesiology, again, to become a physiotherapist. I stopped enjoying that entire process. I was like, why not just go all in on this business thing and just see what happens? So I did that. I dropped out. Luckily, I had enough money to pay off my student loans, so I was debt free. But at the time, I was living in my girlfriend's parents' basement. So it's not like I was living a flashy lifestyle. Like I had very little proof of anything working, but I just went for it anyways. And I started getting mentorship from this other coach who helped me generate, build the skill set of sales and help me generate extra sales. And at the end of his sort of like certification program, he pitched this opportunity. He was like, hey, join my agency. You guys can be like our head coaches. Basically painted this massive vision of like how this is going to be one of the best remote closing agencies there is. Again, me being the naive 20-year-old, I was like, yeah, let's do it. I want to go for this. And I did. I got the position. Long story short, from there, for the next 5 months, there was 5 of us head coaches. Basically, none of us got paid, or maybe a little bit. I didn't get paid. I got paid maybe $200 in like commissions that entire 5 months.
Oh.
And again, like this guy was really good at painting the vision. So I was like, I almost became a fanboy in a way where I was like, I respected and looked up to this guy so much. I was like, let me just keep doing this free work because I know this is going to blow up. But it got to a point where, one, I kept bouncing around between different roles because this wasn't a legit freaking agency. 2, this guy closed, I don't know, between 10 to 20 students into the agency to teach them so that we can then place them as closers on the businesses. We promised them weekly calls and all this stuff. We were giving them monthly calls. So we didn't even keep up our promise. The best part is we were running the calls, like the head coaches, not the actual guy that has all the sales experience. We were running the calls, even though all of us literally just went through the same certification program. So the hierarchy makes zero sense there. And I remember at one point, one guy, reached out to us. He's like, hey, I want a refund because you guys didn't keep up your end of the deal. And us 5 head coaches, we had access to Stripe. We were basically running the entire business. This guy was the proper visionary telling us what to do, and we were trying to figure it out as we went along. So I chatted with all the coaches. I was like, yeah, do we all agree? We all agreed. So I processed the refund. And then the next call I got on with the guy, apparently there was this no refund policy, which I went through all the sales calls that he did with these guys. Never once was it mentioned that there was no refund policy. So I got put on blast in the community on a call where he was like, yeah, Dan made a mistake. Like, there's no refund policy. Absolutely nothing. Basically all that. It was pretty humiliating. And that's kind of when the anxiety really started, because this guy, again, like I said, true visionary, but he was straight up kind of bossing us around. There was no training, nothing. Like, he did train us in the program we paid him for, which, by the way, all of us paid to become head coaches. We paid to work for this guy for free, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it just got, there we go. And it just got to a point where, yeah, I developed such crippling anxiety that I would wake up every morning and I, again, had to distract myself somehow, because I couldn't bear the thought of sitting on a call and working, because we would straight up have 3-hour-long Zoom sessions where we would just kind of work while on Zoom. But again, this guy didn't do anything. We would screen share our stuff, and then he would watch what we're doing and then criticize every time we did something wrong. Again, even though we had no training of what to do anything. So, and then I'd had one-on-one working sessions with him, and that was even worse. He would just like sit there on his phone, just chatting with his friends, having a good time. And I'm there trying to figure out all this like CRM stuff and struggling. And I felt like too scared to ask a question, because I just knew I was going to get berated, or he was going to say like, oh, just get resourceful. Like, thanks, tips. Like, that's not going to help me. So yeah, it got to a point where I got so sick and tired. I started seeing a counselor. We went over all these coping mechanisms, but it got to a point where I got so sick of it. I wasn't making any money. I had brutal anxiety. So I just told the guy, I was like, I'm done. Like, place me in a position where I actually can make money, which he tried to. He's like, hey, yeah, be an appointment setter, but you're not allowed to go in the DMs. So I was like, okay. So I just left. I quit. And I remember the next counseling session I had with the guy, I was like, I feel good. My anxiety's gone. Like, I don't think I need to see you anymore. So clearly, like, that was I know what the source of the issue was, but by that point, I was just
narcissistic abuse, man. That's not,
yeah,
that's not leadership or management.
Yeah. So yeah, by that point, I was just so burnt out of high ticket sales because I had such a bitter taste in my mouth from it.
Yeah, man. Unfortunately, that's the narrative for a lot of people who get into the industry underneath a coach, and they don't have any true leadership skills. So I wasn't as bad as yours, but kind of had a similar experience. But I know that's happening to people all over the place. So it's interesting though what dynamic that these coaching businesses and consulting businesses, like post-COVID, whenever all of them started coming on the scene, what kind of dynamic that created for the marketplace. Because you have people like you and other youngsters out of college that are like sold on this dream. And same thing with like MLMs and stuff like that. They're sold on this dream. It's easy to sell the dream about what could happen. And you get somebody who's naive or really pumped up to like, they'll die with you, man. They'll be like, yes, I believe in your vision. And then you're like, wait, why am I not getting paid?
And what you do with that loyalty and that, idolization is really, I mean, it's like great power comes great responsibility, dude. Like, you run people into the ground or you can build them up. Like, one of the things that we're doing in our company now, because we had the appointment setter and closer recruitment pipeline, and a lot of these people were sold a dream and are still kind of just drifting. We're now pulling them into our company and training them as bot specialists in AI to place them in our clients' business building off of the foundation of the training that they have in the sales psychology, and then giving them that technical expertise to, complement that, so they actually have a skill, and we're actually placing them somewhere where now they can actually fulfill on the thing that they paid somebody else for. It's like one man's trash is another man's treasure, because we're like salvaging the the investment that they put in time wise and emotionally and financially, but helping them pick up where they left off with that, so they actually have like somewhere to go with this now, instead of just drifting out there trying to find a setter role month in and month out, and stuff like that, man. It's just, there's so many people out there that are just drifting like that, and they have a skill, but applying that skill to AI makes them 10 times more valuable in the marketplace.
For sure. So so kind of backing up just a little bit, you were in college, you dropped out, you were in sales while you were in college doing the grind, got into your first couple of courses. You, like a lot of people, you went through several courses, several masterminds to figure out kind of what you wanted to do. And that same thing with me. I started working for actually two of the coaches that I invested in. I wound up working for both of them. And then like you went through the program, you paid to be a head coach. I mean, same situation for me. And then you left your counselor, your anxiety went away. And I want to get into the faith aspect thing in a minute, because I know your faith is very important to you. And so, but I want to get some more context on like bridging the gap between what happened after you left that person up until this point. So like when you started launching your own business and you blew up with your email marketing agency and stuff like that. Can you kind of get into that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So after I left, I, just like you put it, Kevin, I kind of drifted, because like I had the skill set, but I didn't get any reps in for that 5 months. Like back before, at least I was implementing what I was learning in the course with the Instagram growth agency I was working with. So I was putting in the reps, but I basically was coaching people without doing it myself. And I joined this like solar business, whatever, and didn't take any calls. And again, like I just didn't even want to take calls. I just didn't want to be a sales guy. And the silver lining though out of this opportunity, out of this coach, is that one of the final roles that I got placed in was email marketing. He was like, okay, we need to start email marketing for our business. Go learn that skill. So I did. I started writing copy. I started learning about it. And even when I left, I was still reading about copy, learning about it, doing all that fun stuff. And I was like, you know what? Again, maybe something might be here. The thing is, though, I already knew about copy. I just never went into it because, like in high school, English was my worst subject. Like especially written English, I got a 0 on an essay. I literally wrote in class. It's like I didn't get a mark for my name, nothing.
So
that I was like,
to your advantage now that you understand copywriting, right? Because you have to write like a 5th grade or 3rd grade level.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, and that's what like I actually enjoyed about copy, because it wasn't like you're not trying to sound smart, trying to sound academic. You're just getting a point across.
Yeah,
exactly. So I like the entire time I convinced myself I was a terrible writer, and then here I was, like I was even getting people to give me some like feedback on I would basically read other people's emails and then rewrite it in my own way, and then I would get like feedback on it, and people were like, "Oh yeah, like this is pretty good. Like you seem like to be a pretty talented guy." I was like, "Okay, cool." So I, again, found another sort of program that I thought was more about copywriting, but it was actually more about like finding clients, which was still useful. So at that point, again, touching on the faith thing, I don't even know what got into me, but this course had a payment plan. I got closed over an email. This course had a payment plan. And I didn't have much money like liquid, but I had money invested in like stocks or like the retirement account that I had, or just like in savings. So I was like, screw it, withdrew all of it and invested into this course on a payment plan that I didn't even have enough money to pay off. So I just like gave all my money and I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. And from that point on, I started basically sending 50 Instagram video DMs a day to people being like, hey, like, whatever, pitching my thing. Like I'm a copywriter, I can write you free samples in exchange for like a testimonial, and then hopefully like a paid gig afterwards. And I did get a couple people that took me up on it, but nobody paid. So here I was sending 50 Instagram DMs a day for like Monday to Friday or whatever it was. Um, I would even do it like when me and my girlfriend were hanging out, because I wouldn't do it all at once. I would do maybe batches of 25 or whatever it was. I don't remember. So I would go into the car during the summer. So I'd crack the windows down just so I can like breathe and do DMs in the car. So I'm not bugging her and her family. And then I'd come back, hang out again. But like I said, like that was basically the process for the next 4 months. I tried different outreach strategies. I was writing a bunch of samples. Everyone was telling me like, oh, this stuff's good. You know, like you're talented, like things are great. I was like, I don't care. At this point, everyone's telling me the same thing, but nobody's paying me. It's like, someone just pay me. That's all I care. Because again, like
Yes.
I haven't made any money for like 6 months. Like again, from working for 5 months for free and then trying to get this copywriting thing off the ground, I was making no money. And it got to a point where I got a bartending job because I was like, I had to swallow my ego because I was like hoping that like, oh, I'm never gonna work a job. But no, I had to swallow my ego, got a bartending job just to pay off the course and pay the bills. But that lit a fire into my ass even more because I was like, I hate it. Like I don't want to work it wasn't 9 to 5. I didn't want to work just like a part-time job. Still kept going through the summer, and at around July, like I started really losing faith and losing hope. Like me and my girlfriend took a trip to Vancouver, which thankfully I could afford because I was working at a job. And I remember driving around the university campus there, and it was a pretty nice campus. And I remember sitting on the beach, reconsidering everything. I was like, what if this was a mistake? Like, why did I drop out? Maybe I should just go back to school. Maybe I could get into software engineering. It pays well. Just again, live a normal life. And I started talking to my girlfriend about it, which by the way, she was super supportive of me starting the franchise, of me getting online, of me building the business online. So she was always kind of like my number one person that always cheered me on, especially because my family, same thing, wasn't that keen on me starting online. And she was kind of asking me, she's like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, I know you've been working hard at this. And I was like, I think so. So I started emailing the admissions office, and they're like, okay, yeah, just apply in October. So it was basically like beginning of August. We come back, and from that community that I just invested all my money into, I ended up getting a gig, like an agency gig of just like basically I was writing Facebook ads for them. I took it, and it, again, didn't pay enough for me to quit the bar, but I was like, thank God, like this is the first consistent income I was making. I was also making US dollars, which I felt like the shit because again, I'm in Canada, so it's like our monopoly money here is like, it's like $1 million whenever we get paid in the US.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a little bit of hope. But before then, actually, before I even got that opportunity, I did make a little bit of money from freelancing from this one guy I met at the Instagram growth company, because he had his own agency and I wrote a couple of Instagram posts for him for like cheap. And I messaged him because I was like, hey man, like thinking of getting into software engineering, what should I know? Because he had a degree in software engineering. He had an internship at Microsoft, all that jazz. And he told me, he's like, don't do it. You are not the personality type that's going to enjoy this. Just like, I know things must be hard right now because I'm reaching out to him about this, but just, I promise you, if you stick to this, like things are going to work out. So I did. And that's when I did get the agency position. And then a couple months after that, after still working at the bar and doing the agency stuff, I got picked up a second agency position, which actually allowed me to quit my job. And I was so pumped about that. And the first thing that I did, as soon as that second agency payment landed, so the first one was paying me about $1,250 US a month. And then the second one was paying me about $4K a month. So I was like, holy crap, like I felt rich. Like this is the most money I was making, especially in Canada. That was probably around like 6K Canadian a month. And I was pumped. So the first thing I did was book a all-inclusive trip to Cancun at a 5-star resort with me and my girlfriend just to celebrate our anniversary and everything. Just kind of like, same thing, like I just wanted to surprise her. I remember I like made a little crossword of like the surprise of like what we were doing for anniversary, because I just also wanted to give back to her because again, she supported me the entire time. And she never lost sort of like faith in me. So yeah, that's how I broke into the copywriting space. kind of trudged around for a few months, got bored of the agency space again because I just don't like working under people. And I started looking into how to become a freelancer. I invested into another program with a guy that I still coach with to this day. And this was literally a month before me and my girlfriend decided to go take our summer trip to Italy. So I was kind of nervous about joining the program because I was like, I just want to enjoy this trip. But I went for it anyways. And then within the next 3 months, from May up until July, August-ish, I was able to basically replace my agency income, leave both agencies, but I was earning even more working less. And again, that was another moment of like, oh my God, like this is where life is starting to take off. And then this was 2022. Yeah, summer of 2022. From there on, I had the idea of starting an agency maybe late 2022 because it was the next logical progression. But I sat on that idea for basically the entire 2022 and 2023 up until like September. I kept doing a bunch of different things, kept considering like, what do I want to do? I didn't want to run an agency because I didn't want to manage people because of the franchise experience. I was like, I'm a terrible leader. Can't do this. Like, it's too stressful. That's the last thing I want to do. But I got to a point where in September, I went to an event and I read Turning Pro and War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. And those books kind of helped me shift my mindset a little bit. But my coach also told me how he wanted to start something for years. And then as soon as he started, he was so glad he did it. So he was like, just do me a favor and, save yourself the couple of years that I wasted. So I just jumped into it. And yeah, things went like, from there on, things have went pretty well. Hired a team, like, I got 2 people that I absolutely love working with. So yeah, things have like improved drastically since then, but that kind of like pretty much takes us to like now.
It's full circle.
Yeah.
Like what? How many? Like 12 coaches later?
Dude, yeah, seriously. And it's just, like it's, like you said, everything does come full circle because it's like I started with the agent, trying to learn how to start an agency and then coming back to basically running my own agency. So,
Man, it's a lot.
Yeah, that's a long 5 years, man. Yeah, it sounds like I've had 5 years like that too, though.
Yeah.
I think I mean, I don't know. They say it takes 10 years to really truly be successful at one thing. You got to be at it for like 10 years. But I guess it depends on what your definition of like the level of success that you're trying to achieve, right? Cool, man. So like, what's going on? Like, what's current for you? Like, that's the past. That's the journey. That's like, all the shit that you went through to get here. So what does the present look like?
still a lot of me getting in my own way. I had a very deep coaching call with my coach a couple days ago. So for me,
Gosh, don't
I'm
quote
always the person.
about getting in your own way.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
I
it's like
said I pointed at myself and I said, "Me
I
too."
know. That's why I'm laughing. All
yeah.
right,
So it's like
my bad.
it's I'm the type of person that wants to continue to grow. Like I get, especially last 2023 was a tough year because it's like I made certain progress, but it wasn't progress that was like tangible. And so I might have learned a lot about myself, developed my character and whatnot, but I didn't see the business growth that I wanted. So it's like, it was kind of mentally hard. And even like to this point, still like if I'm not hitting certain expectations that I have of myself, like the internal talk gets pretty gnarly. So yeah, it got to a point where again, like I'm just not progressing or not scaling in the direction that I want. And there was like for the longest time, one of my biggest passions is just like pouring into people, just coaching, consulting. Like I love sitting on calls with people and just like basically solving problems with them. I'm not the biggest, like I don't have that much passion actually doing the work for people. So it's like ironic that I run an agency, but I guess I have other people that do it for me. But the ultimate goal was always to become basically a coach, which the classic joke of like, coaches, everyone wants to do that. But like when I played hockey, my favorite thing was to go and just coach, because I was a goalie, so I'd coach younger goalies. I remember in 2023, I had a copywriter from Poland reach out to me. And at the time I was trying to do some consulting, but I was like, nah, like I'm not really doing consulting for like copywriters. I want to work with business owners. But he was pretty adamant about it. Well, not like in a rude way, but he was quite forward with the way that he really wanted to work with me. And I was like, you know what, sure, whatever. Like, here's the price, here's the Stripe link. If you really want to work, let's do it. And he paid it right away. So I was like, okay, so this guy's not just like, kicking the can down the road. So we got on weekly calls. I taught him everything that I knew. Again, this kid is from Poland. He was making about $3,000 US a month. English is his second language. He was younger than me. So I taught him everything. And then it was 3 months of coaching. After that 3 months, maybe month 4, month 5, I got a text from him. He's like, dude, I just hit my first 10K month. And I was like, holy shit, like that's amazing. Congrats. And then a few months later, I texted him again. I was like, hey man, like, long time no speak. How have you been? He's like, man, it's been so good. I now started my own agency. I partnered with someone. I'm now making 15, 20K a month. I was like, holy crap, dude. That's like, it's crazy how fast he grew. And it was so exciting coaching him, because every single call, he would come be like, yes, okay, I did what you told me to do. Like, what's next?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, so this kid was actually serious about doing everything. And that was the most gratifying. I'm not going to say it's the most exciting thing about 2023. Like, I did a lot of traveling in 2023, which is, again, like I said, it was great for that personal experience, but business wise, that was definitely a highlight of just like being able to coach someone from point A to point B, and then seeing that progress, seeing them grow. And that just, again, reaffirmed the whole idea that I really want to coach. But my problem was, one, I didn't necessarily want to coach copywriters, because I enjoy working a lot more with business owners, because the problems are just bigger. There's more complexity to it. There's not much mindset involved in it. It's just like, here's what you got to do it, and then let's solve problems as they come. But my whole belief was that I had to do or achieve X to do Y. So for me, my whole idea was like, I have to scale my agency to like 50, 100K a month to actually coach on a high level of like these coaches and business owners. And I had that belief for so long. And just like on Tuesday, what day is it? Like Friday, had my call with my coach, and we were breaking it down, because there's one person that I know, he's 16 years old. He's making 50 grand a week. And when I did a project for him, and I went in and I was like, oh my God, like I'm in a mastermind right now. I was like, this is very similar to what I'm seeing in a mastermind. And I had an insight. I was like, this kid is just leveraging the things that he has. Like, he's not getting in his own way. He's not making excuses. It's like, oh, I can't do this because I'm too young or what. He's just going after it. And I talked to my coach, and the same thing. We just basically came down to the point. It's like, yeah, you're just getting in your own way constantly. Like, you're setting all these sort of expectations or roadblocks of what you actually want to do. And I realized too, it's like, I was told that if I have the solution and other people are willing to pay for it, doesn't matter what business they run, because I was hardcore into qualifying like who I want to work with. He's like, it doesn't matter if they're making 100 grand a month or 5 grand a month. Like, if you have the solution and they know it's going to work for them, why wouldn't you give it to them? I was like, I guess that's a good point. Like, I don't know. And that's when I kind of realized is that I don't have to scale my agency to a mass level. Like, I already have the track record of helping coaches make millions of dollars on the back end. And it's like, what's the point of me scaling my agency to a large degree? Like, that's just satisfying my own ego. Like, again, I have the answer. I have all the systems. I've done it for the last 2 years. Like, why can't I just give these answers to other people? And again, I had that whole realization. It's like, this whole time, I've been painting a picture of what I have to do in order to do what I really want to do. When in reality, I can just take the shortcut, like that freaking 16-year-old kid that's like making 50 grand a week. So there's like this big mental piece
with people all the time about like, dude, like, what do you have right in front of you? Like forget everything you think you need. Like, what do you have right in front of you right now? Do you have something to sell? Do you have people to sell it to? And do you have a way of selling it?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oftentimes like we think that we need more than what we currently have. And this is the lesson that I've been learning personally as well. Like, I mean, I just get bored with the business sometimes. Like the
Yeah.
clients, like I've hit up everybody I can sell, uh, nurturing the leads, and I'm like just tinkering with other things in the business, and like it got me in trouble because like me and Kevin are partners in this business, and we have to operate in alignment, and I'll get bored. Like perfect example, Monday was his birthday. It's also Memorial Day. I'm working. He's not. I'm like trying to figure out what to do to bring in cash, and I overstepped something that we weren't in alignment on, just because I'm just like my ambition isn't weakened. Like the statement Kevin's been reminding me like almost every day this week: weaken your ambition, strengthen your resolve. And it sounds like exactly
Mhm.
what that 16-year-old did. He maximized what he had in his hands, and he's not like entertaining other things. Um, I remember we heard a similar testimonial about like another AI agency, but this kid, like 16-year-old kid, making 50K a month just setting up voice AI for businesses. And I'm like,
Um,
what are we
yeah.
doing wrong?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and then like we're entertaining too many things. We're not charging enough. We're not going deep on one thing for one person.
Yep. And then what happened? We turned around and we 5x'd our pricing, and we focused going deeper, 90 days with clients instead of 30 days, focusing more heavily on getting them deeper results instead of just building the AI. And now we're projected to make more this month than we made in the first 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's never about doing more. It's never about what you need, more things you need. It's about stripping back all the things that are weighing you down.
It's so funny you say that, Kevin, because I maybe yesterday, 2 days ago, made a Facebook post about the exact same realization I had. One of the big problems that I've noticed that I've had with my coach is that, or not with my coach, but my coach brought it up, is that it's so easy. And Josh, you put it well, it's like, what are we doing wrong? Is like, that was my issue as well. I kept seeing all these business owners crush it. And even my clients, like, same thing. They never got in their, well, they might have gone in their own way, but they just went after what they wanted. They've never scaled some business to this massive degree and then started coaching on. It's like, they just went after what they wanted. And I was always asking myself, I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I don't understand. Like, what do these people have that I don't have? It's just the ability to not get in your own way. And one of the things that I started doing a lot, which was I was basically outsourcing my power and my decision making. I would constantly ask people like, hey, what do you think about this? What should, like, I'm planning on doing this. What do you think? And instead of me just freaking doing it. And I realized, I was like, man, and the Facebook post basically is about the same thing you just said, Kevin, is like, my issue wasn't the fact that I was doing too much, or it wasn't the fact that I wasn't doing enough. It's the fact that I was doing too much.
Yeah.
I was constantly filling my brain with all this stimulus. I was constantly getting opinions on other people, and I was outsourcing that decision making. I was suffocating my intuition and my decision making because I was constantly like investing in coaching. Like, I spent $100,000 in coaching last year, and 20% of it maybe was useful. And it's because I was trying to look outside and try to find a solution, when in reality, I should have just went internal, cut the noise, put the books away, turn off the podcast, put away the courses, and just sit with my thoughts. Like, what do I want to do? What solutions do I need to come up with? Because those solutions are already inside of you. The problem is, at least with me, was, again, I was suffocating my intuition by constantly asking other people what they think instead of just like going with my gut.
Mm.
That has been like a big and kind of painful realization to make. And it's just hilarious, again, Kevin, that you use those exact words, because it's like basically exactly what I just made the post about.
Yeah, man. I mean, I started sales when I was 17, and that's the same year that I started my like personal development journey, right? I was selling hot tubs over the summer, over the phone, right? Like, these people like requested, I don't know, if I forget if it was like they saw a TV commercial and then they requested to be mailed a VHS, like a sales, like a VSL, but like literally a video sales letter, right? And then if they watched the video and they were interested, we were calling them, right? So it was outbound, like, call center, right? At the manufacturer of the hot tubs. And I did that for the summer, man. And they're like, do you want to work for us full time? And I'm like, dude, I'm a junior in high school. I have to go back to school. Like, what are you talking about? Like, some of the people that work there, they like dropped out of high school to work there full time. I'm like, are you out of your mind? Like, no. All right. So, but I knew I was good, right? So I was like, all right, this is cool. And then, that started like but like, long story short, I say that to say, like, you guys are in your 20s, man. Like, I just turned 40 on Monday. So like, it's, and, I think that, Joshua and I, our business relationship, like our brotherhood is like so valuable in the fact that I have the wisdom and the experience and the intuition, and he has that, that, like, I'm not tired. Yeah, I'm not tired. But, like, I don't want to do all the crap that Josh does. Like, I love him so much. He does all the stuff that I hate to do, and I do most of the stuff that he's either not good at yet or doesn't like to do, too. So, like, but yeah, like I said, like, dude, I think it's just something you do in your 20s, man. But, like, for me, at this point especially, like, I've had this is my fourth successful business. And I say successful, I mean, like, I started my entrepreneurial journey with, like, I don't count network marketing. That was just my entry after my sales career. I don't count that as a business venture. But like, I just did, like, it was so funny. Like, it was such a weird little side hustle. It was, and it's funny that I'm selling AI bots now, because in 2014, so yeah, 10 years ago, my first real side hustle, like, business was, I was getting limited release Nikes and Jordans into people's Nike.com carts with a bot. So, like, when Derek Jeter retired, they made 12,000 pairs of this Jordan 1 commemorative Derek Jeter sneaker, right? There was only 12,000 pairs released in the entire world, okay? My bot, people paid me $100 a pair to get them into their Nike cart, right? So I was literally just facilitating the transaction. I wasn't reselling sneakers like most people were doing. I was just the middleman, just collecting the fee to get them in their cart. They didn't have to pay me for the sneakers. They paid Nike for the sneakers, right? I got 427 pairs of those 12,000 pairs of sneakers into people's Nike carts. It was like a 98% success rate. And I was like, holy crap. I only had like 7,000 followers on Instagram to, like, to get that many people to buy from me. And that was it, dude. I was like, all right, but I had no systems in place. I knew, like, I had always been in sales and I had managers. And so they took care of all the stuff, right? I just went out and sold. So, like, I burned myself out the same way, dude. I was working like 20-hour days every day of the week. I'm like texting 17-year-olds at 2:00 in the morning about, oh, am I going to get my sneakers? Because I can get, it's $100 with you, but this guy's only charging 50, so I have a double the chance of getting my sneakers. I'm like, no. I'm like, my bot is like 98% success rate. You have less of a chance of getting your sneakers over there. But anyway, but I burnt myself out. I made, like, I hope the IRS isn't listening, but I made like $100K in like 9 months. But I'm like, shut it down. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And then so that ultimately led to my e-commerce business and stuff. But, like, every step of the way, like, nothing's wasted, dude. Like, I look at every business venture that I had, like, mind you, like, I haven't had a failed business yet. And I don't ever plan on it, because the only way that I picture failing at a business is if you literally just go belly up and you have no ability to continue, or if you just, like, quit, or you don't or if you don't take anything from it that helps you in your next venture, right? And it sounds to me you had a lot of bumps in the road, and you had a lot, like, your story reminds me of the freaking Jim Carrey movie Yes Man, where he just says yes. He like goes to that coach and he's like, you have to say yes to everything. And I'm like, yeah, this is what Dan did. That's what I was thinking the whole time. So funny,
Yep.
dude. But yeah, man, like, you gotta, what does they say? You gotta kiss a couple frogs to meet your prince. But like, yeah, dude, you gotta like go through every single door to find it. And you finally did that, bro. Like, that's awesome. And now, right, like you said, what it's about for you is getting out of your own way, turning off that nagging, like, insecure voice in your head that tells you what you need to be doing more of, and like just telling yourself like that's an error thought, like that's not productive, that's not getting me to where I want to go, and like redirecting that energy into like it's like the Sam Ovens is like, he has a very good like visual representation that he always did on his webinars of like of your focus and your intentions, right? Like, if it's going in 10 different directions, then you're not really building much momentum in any of those directions at any given time, and they're pulling off of each other every time you shift intention and shift focus and direction, right? So like the real, like, the way to really tap into that momentum and that perpetual motion and that exponential growth is to laser focus on what is the thing that's like, dude, I do 30 things in a day, but what are like the three things that are making me 80% of my money? And like, do I really need to be doing all those things? Right? It's like, and then you look at them and you're like, delegate, eliminate, automate, and then you just do those three things that are left.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And that's something that like Josh is a workaholic. And so like I'm drilling into him, like, we've continued to work less and profit more every time I continue to like push on that, right? And you know, it's all about, right? The name of our company is leverage. Like, you got to live that. You can't just call the company that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Awesome, man. I love it.
It's like, at what point do you stop? It's like, at what point do I stop tinkering with the website, the funnels, the campaigns, and all those things? That's like, until it started backfiring was my point. And then I realized it was like God showing me, like, dude, chill. Like, you don't have to be doing everything.
Simple question you can ask yourself every time you start like fiddling and poking at shit is like, is this what's going to make us more money? And if it's not, then you just leave it alone.
Yep.
Yeah, easier said than done, right?
So perfect example, right? And like, in regards to like how many things you think you need to do versus like what you can actually do, right? Kanye spent $7 million on a Super Bowl ad, recorded the ad on his cell phone, and made $19 million in less than 24 hours, right? That's all he did. And then he had this, like, literally the simplest website you've ever seen in your entire life, just product, price, cart, checkout. $19 million in a day. Right?
Yep.
And it think about it like this, right? If you were selling yourself, like, we're all closers here, right? And what is the number one thing that makes a prospect not buy?
If you're not sold on it.
No, it's the empty their mind concept, right? If they leave the call with more questions than they had when they showed up, then they're never going to buy, right? Like, so you have to approach every decision that you make in a way of like, sell yourself on it in a like empty your mind kind of way. Like, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Just, yeah, where you don't really even have questions of like, can I do this? Is this going to work?
Yeah, like, yeah, like if you even feel like you're questioning, like, is this going to make me money, or should I be focusing on this? Then the answer is definitely no. That's the difference between the intuition and your little ego.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
One of the things I've been focusing on, and it's hilarious, again, reflecting with my coach, I was telling him about all the different things I've done over the last year, and he's like, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like you've just been testing a lot of different things. Things haven't been working out, but that's just part of business. You just figure it out as you go. You test things, doesn't work, you pivot. Like that's it. And that's the, like, that reframe, again, there's been a lot of reframes lately, but that, again, like giving yourself permission to just figure it out. Like that's it. That's all entrepreneurship really is. That's all like creating success is just allowing yourself to just figure it out along the way, because everyone's path is different. It doesn't matter if someone's doing it one way or someone's doing it another way. Like, you don't have to worry about it. And if things aren't working out, it doesn't mean there's something wrong.
They're not you.
Like, yeah. And like Josh, you mentioned, like, God's giving you messages and like signs. Like, this is the same thing. It's like God will, again, part of my post that I wrote is like, you're not being challenged because God thinks that you're a flawed human being and there's something wrong. He's challenging you because he sees like potential in you that you just yet have not seen yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's been a big thing I've been reframing myself, is because like this is when I thought, when I knew things were a bit off in terms of mindset and what's actually happening in reality, is that I've been very cognizant of the story of telling myself, because May has been one of the mentally sort of hardest months I've had, because again, I'm pulled in so many different directions. I have all these ideas. Things aren't necessarily progressing the way I want to. However, it was a record month. Financially, clients are happy, results are great, building deep relationships with people. Like, it was objectively a great month. But internally, I was telling myself stories like, this isn't working, like, this is frustrating, I'm being challenged, I'm like waking up with anxieties, I'm waking up with doubts. Because like, also me and my girlfriend got to travel for a full year. So it's like, I now have to provide for her. And I remember confiding in her, and she straight up told me, she's like, well, yeah, if you weren't anxious or stressed, like, I'd be questioning you. I'd be kind of concerned. And I was like,
and I know, without even you telling me, I know exactly what that is. It's where attention goes, energy flows. So you focus more on what's wrong than what's going right. And that is, what you believe, you receive, and where attention goes, energy flows, right? So a problem that we just, I think, finally overcame is, I'll give you an example, is like Joshua runs payroll for our company, right? And so payroll's bi-weekly. And there's been a pattern of like, every time money has to go out, we make less the next week, because he's focused on it going out instead of focusing on it coming in. And it's not that we're doing less in regards to revenue. It's just that his attention is on the lack instead of the growth. It's just the attention. It's the energy. Money is a frequency. And 100 grand vibrates differently than 1 million. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, and I just sent him something on Instagram. I don't know if you watched it, but I thought it was really cool, about like reframing even like just the words that you use revolving around money, right? Like, you're not spending money, you are circulating money.
Right. Yeah. Language is definitely super important. Right? And those are the things that I'm learning about myself. Like, this definitely goes way deeper than just beneath the surface. Like, how we've been taught to think about problems, stress responses, how we've been raised around money, and, letting poverty habits kind of come into a business and keep you stuck, and you're wondering why you're stuck. And like, dude, some of the things like not being present with people because I'm thinking so much about what needs to happen, how I spend money, trying to do too much in the business rather than going deep on the money making activities, not doing money making activities at the wrong part of the day, or doing non-making money activities during money making activity hours. You know what I mean? And so like, I had to really put a hard for my own calendar, like, all right, you're allowed to edit the website. You're allowed to make recordings after 5 o'clock, and then I gave myself permission to do those things. And so, but that was one of my problems, because I was focused on the wrong thing at the wrong time. That's been a big battle for me personally.
You're an operations guy. You're a like step 1 to step 100, and you have to check everything off the checklist. What you need to stop doing is making checklists, because then you won't have things to check off your list. Let me make the checklists.
Yeah, right. Nothing's gonna get done.
Yeah, right.
I'm kidding. No. So Dan, tell me about pivoting away from there's all this stuff that happens in the business that brings you to a certain point. For me, it forced me really close in my relationship and my walk with God. I got a lot more involved in church. I signed up for the hospitality team. It's just got involved in a lot more. It's made it a habit to read my Bible every night before I went to bed. Stuff like that. So what of the anxieties that you went through, the problems that you realized about yourself, how did that influence your spiritual journey?
It was huge. Shit, what happened?
Oh man, he dropped off. He'll join back in a second. There he is.
Okay, cool.
I know it's a loaded question, but whatever comes to mind.
Yeah, no, it was huge. I mean, my girlfriend's played a big part in it, because she's Christian. I was raised Eastern Orthodox, and it's like super traditional. And honestly, whenever we went to church like twice a year, but it's not like there's no sermons or anything. It's just
Easter and
they're like
Christmas.
singing. Yeah, like they're singing these like weird hymns, and it's just like you're just standing there. You don't know what's going on. I remember at one point we did. I don't remember what it was, but like it's not confession or anything, but like you basically go up and not the Pope, I don't know what you call it, the father, whatever. He asked me, he's like,
confessions, yeah, confession.
Yeah, he's like, when was the last time you went to church? I was like, I don't know, like last year. He's like, oh, and then he started criticizing the shit out of me for not going to church, and I was like, anyways, I got such a bad taste in my mouth. And but my girlfriend, I remember once I started running my franchise, I went to church with them for the first time, like a Christian church. And again, this was April, May, June. This was like at the peak of when I was feeling like ultimate stress and anxiety as like being that young. And I just remember like whatever they spoke about, like I was like, oh my God, this is like speaking to me. This is the exact message I need to hear. And that's what motivated me to like pick up a Bible myself. Like I started diving deep into like faith as well. And yeah, I basically just started praying. Like every time I'd pray, just asking for different things, asking for like insight and whatnot. It's just funny because the two managers telling me to start a franchise, that was a God moment. I consider that. The guy that told me to not pursue software engineering, that was another God moment. Like I'm sure there's so many other God moments, but like every sort of action, every step, like even the injury, like at the time, I lost my entire identity because I played hockey my entire life. Like that's who I was known in school, so it was really tough giving it up. But I realized it's like, interesting. Like that was just, I learned all the discipline, I learned all the character from hockey that now translates into business. Business is kind of what I was meant to do. So it like when I reflect back, that's where the relationship with the faith like really strengthens a lot more. And even now, like it's, I constantly reframe things. Like again, like I said, like way back when, again, I made a Facebook post when I was dealing with something. I mentioned it's like God at every point watches how you react. He'll throw challenges at you, and depending on how you react, he'll either shake his head no, saying you're not ready. If you make a big deal out of it, you don't take action, and then you complain about it, he'll just shake his head. He's not ready for the next level yet. Or if he tosses you a challenge and you embrace it, you move through it, you find solutions, then he'll nod his head, be like, okay, cool, he's ready for the next challenge. And that's the way I see everything now. I always have to remind my sort of emotional brain about this. So like every challenge that I'm going through is just feeding the character, it's feeding the person that's capable of building something bigger down the line, so I can maintain that success, not just be like a one pump chump that just like gets it one time and then loses it. So yeah, like I've never prayed so much since getting into like entrepreneurship. Every single morning, every single night, especially like I try and make an effort, especially when things are going good, just to be grateful for some of the things that have been going good. And yeah, that's just the way I see things. Is like it's strengthened me, and my girlfriend definitely helped me get into more of like this faith stuff. I've become a lot closer to God through it. And I don't know if you guys read Reality Transurfing, but holy crap, that is a really good book to read. One of the quotes there, or the guy shared an anecdote that gave me goosebumps when I read it. There's a guy that he passed away. He went to heaven, and him and God were looking down, kind of reflecting on his life. And they saw like the footsteps. It's like the footsteps of his life, and they're just kind of tracking it. And they got to a point where there's two sets of footsteps. It got to a point where there's only one set of footsteps, and this was during the hardest periods that the man that just passed away has gone through. And the guy turns around to God, he's like, God, like, why did you leave me during this period? Like, I needed you the most at this point. And God turns back to him and says, like, those aren't your footsteps, they're my footsteps. I was just carrying you on my shoulders during that time. And I was like, oh my God.
I learned that
like
when I was 10 years old, and I you know who I learned it from? DMX.
I don't even know who DMX is.
Beyond your age there, Boomer.
That's all right.
Oh no. There's so many generational references that Kevin says. I'm like, what?
How do you not know who DMX is regardless? It doesn't matter how old you are. My son is 15 and he knows who DMX is.
We live in
now I know who DMX is thanks to you, so
there you go. See?
Well,
yeah,
that's a powerful anecdote.
Yeah. And it's just like, same again, like Reality Transurfing does a great job of connecting faith with, because it explains a lot of just like around intention and just basically understanding yourself and how to control sort of what happens in front of you. And it's the same thing, like even he mentioned that there's like a piece of God in each of us. If God created us in his own image, that means then there's like a little piece of him in each of us. So it's like when you create these goals or these intentions, that's like also coming from him. Like, why would you have doubts, or why would you have fears of it not working out? Because like, do you think that God asks himself permission if he can do it? Like, no. If the thought pops in and whatnot, like, obviously you can make multiple arguments against this, but like your core intention of doing what you want to do in life and like sort of whatever you're called to do, like just don't question it. Just again, like get out of your own logical way. Just have the faith in what you want to do, and then figure it out as you go. Let God sort of paint the way.
Dude, there's so many ways that Christians get in their own way. And one of my favorite that I've heard so far was I was having a conversation with one of my brothers, Bruno. We had gotten lunch and we were sitting in my truck just talking. And he was telling me about a moment that he was sharing with another small group he was a part of. And this guy was like, yeah, man, I want to do this. I want to quit my job. And he was just like, okay, well, you should go for it. He's like, yeah, I will, God willing. And that scripture says you should say if it says basically you will if God wills it. And there it like opened up a conversation about how if this mind that was in Christ is also in you, if we're spirit-filled believers, that we have the mind of Christ, we're made in the image of God, we're filled with the Holy Spirit, like we got direct access to the mind of God. It's like that with ours, So it's not that we are like the thoughts that come to our mind. Some Christians are like they doubt, they think it's their thought, and they got to get permission or wait from a sign from God to like make it happen. But it's actually God inspired. So like if it's in your brain, it's God put it there, and you should go for it. And how people will, God willing themselves out of the vision that He has for their life, because it's actually just a reflection of their own limiting beliefs. And so I thought that was one that a lot of people probably are. I used to use them. Like, yeah, God willing. I don't want to overextend my territory as a son of God. I don't want to ask for too much. You know what I mean? And that's recently shifted the way I've prayed, along with like several encounters that I had with some individuals, some podcasts that I heard from Taylor Welch. And has shifted the way that I've prayed and approached God. it's not from a demanding perspective, but more of a commanding perspective, knowing my sonship, knowing my status before God. And like, if I wasn't blameless before him, I wouldn't be able to be as audacious in my prayers to him. But like, much more articulate in my prayers, asking and talking to God throughout the day. Like literally here recently, I've just been going about my day like, okay, God, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What about this? Really, what are your thoughts on this? And then with specific outcomes that I'm looking for, how King David prays in the Bible, very articulate, very commanding, like in the spiritual warfare aspects of things, praying for specific outcomes, not like asking God, but being like, no, my body will be in health, the money will come in, it's on the way to my bank account, like assumptive almost, but commanding of spiritual forces instead of like just requesting, like not being weak in your prayers. And that's one thing that recently I've really been tapping into is the power of powerful prayers, of praying like an actual son, rather than just kind of like this watered down believer. Like you pray just because of something you do.
Yeah, I have a question. If this is, a temporary existence that we've been gifted by our Father, right? And and God's kingdom is far grander than what we have, anything that we have here, then how could it be presumptuous or in any way perceived negative by our Creator to ask for anything as long as the intention is positive, is in God's image? Then how could there be a limit on anything that you ask for while here?
There can't be.
There shouldn't be. And you're wrong in your faith if you think that there is. If you think you're asking God for too much, then you're not listening to what he's trying to tell you.
The way I see it too is that like God already knows what we're thinking of at any given point. So it's like, and I'll say this from personal experience where you might pray for something, but you almost like twist in a way to make it sound better, maybe you don't want to admit that it's for ego reasons and whatnot, but it's like, it's such BS because like, again, God already knows what you're thinking. He sees your true intentions. Like, and Josh, I actually really like that, the frame of prayer, because I'm going to start doing that too, is that like, if you're, again, like going to that point, what is the point of, if it's both to your guys' point, what is the point of asking? Because it's already possible, there's this beautiful world, there's no limits. But same thing, God already has access to your thoughts. Like he knows exactly what you're thinking about. He knows what you're going for. He knows what you want. Why ask for it? Just go after it. And then again, Josh, like you said, like command it.
It's really just aligning your thoughts with your heart's intention and then just putting your head down and doing the work. You don't even need to ask because God already put that on your heart. So asking, prayer is, if you want my perspective on prayer, prayer is just thanking God for what he's already given you and what he has in store for you. It's literally the only purpose in my belief for prayer is gratitude for past, present, and future. I don't ask for anything. I'm just grateful for the things that he has in store for me. And I know what he has in store for me because it's the intention in my heart aligned with the thoughts and the vision that he has given me. That's why, Josh, it seems like things just happen weird, like magically. Like I literally will say something. Josh, tell him what happened last week.
Yeah, it does. I mean,
it happens all the time.
We were talking about creating a way with the Apple or Google glasses to go to an event and be able to get the AI transcript and like have.
So yeah, we're going to Tony Robbins' Business Mastery event in August, and we were like, how can we like low key flex when we're networking that we are AI experts without actually having to say it? Right? When we meet people, I want a conversation starter that that leans into our expertise in AI. And I'm like, what about the Ray-Bans, the Meta Ray-Bans? Like we can have something connected so that it transcribes everything it records and then automatically takes all that information and puts it into like an SOP from everything that we learn while we're at this event, right? And no joke.
Well,
go ahead.
yeah, well, literally, yeah, he was going to say, no joke, we got on a call with one of our partners.
An hour later.
Like literally an hour later, and they showed us this tech they developed, and which we're going to be including in our tech stack. We actually have already, but they had a lanyard element to it, which did the same thing, had a mic on it, and literally
that little quad credit card looking ChatGPT device? You know what I'm talking about? That it's that. So it wasn't the glasses, but it was
something.
Yeah.
So just like that, yeah, like there's been some eerie moments. Like I don't know if your experiences, but like you had an idea, and then it just happens. So like that happens more than anybody I've ever met with Kevin.
Do you want to know why?
I think it's probably because what you just said.
What I just said, yeah. It's a lot. Like God puts the vision in front of me, and then I just align my intention in my heart. And I just put my head down and walk the path. It's not more complicated.
But the purpose of prayer, is not just for gratitude. Because if you look at how Jesus taught us to pray in the Bible, it is along those lines, but it's also to ask for, it is for gratitude, but it's also for supplication, for getting what you need, and also for you can request an increase from God. And so I think that the Hebrew word, it's a Hebrew word, it's abracadabra.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you guys heard, like, it means as I speak, I create.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that part of us, I've said this all my life, but like part of us being made in the image of God, like you said earlier, Dan, is the fact that, when God spoke, he created. And we were made in the image of God, so when we speak, we create. But when we're like, in alignment with God.
It's just the microcosm of the macrocosm of God.
Right, exactly. So I think part of prayer is one, intercession on, like, we can intercede for other people. Meaning, like, we see somebody who is not where we are at, we can, and I did this with Ashan, bro. I prayed with him, and he's somebody on our team I led to Christ. And I said, borrow my faith. And so literally, like, interceding on his behalf, to be able to lead him to a place of awareness, to get a result that he was looking for, which is, I won't get into the details of it, but like, I think prayer is intercessory for other people, and in that regard as well. So like, what the purpose of prayer is like, there's a lot of facets to it. But how we pray is very different for a lot of people.
So, yeah, it's a good insight to have. I mean, if you really look at it, like whenever you ask in prayers, you will get what you ask for nearly like instantly. Like it's happened so many times to me where I remember one moment on my balcony, I was just watching the sunrise, going through my gratitude sort of routine. And again, I was so frustrated with the lack of progress I was seeing. I kind of closed my eyes. I was like, God, like there must be some kind of lesson I'm not learning yet that I need to learn before I step into the next, stage. And I asked him, I was like, what is that lesson? And like almost instantly, like a voice in my head is like, you're way too focused on like the outcome of achieving something. You're not focusing on the process at all. All you do is look out in the future instead of focusing on like what you got going on now and focusing on the little steps that you need to take to get there. And I was like, I opened my eyes and I was like, oh my God, like it's just insane how fast you get the answer to your prayers. So I actually love the frame you guys have around prayer because I've never heard of that myself. But
I'll send you a podcast you should listen to.
Definitely, yeah.
It's from Taylor Welch. Like he was the first coach I ever paid, and he was the first sales position that I had outside of financial services. And he's recently really made this pivot in his content where he talks about his spiritual journey now. One thing in the episode is talking about his wife in childbirth. And she had two back-to-back painless childbirths. The first one, her labor lasted like 20 seconds. And the second one was like 6 minutes. And so like the Bible, that's something that's biblical, talking about, well, when man first sinned, the childbirth would be painful. But then it also talks about painless childbirth as well. And that people can get to this degree of obedience in their walk with God, where supernatural things just happen as a byproduct of how they, just their walk. Like just crazy things are happening. But and also in the episode, it talked about like Taylor was like asking, how did you get to this point with your relationship with God? She was like, it literally started with me asking him what I should wear. And like looking at my wardrobe, saying, God, what do you think I should wear today? And she noticed on the days that she did that, people would compliment her. And then on the days that she didn't do that, nobody would say anything. And so it led from there. And like Paul talks about like prayer without ceasing, like just talking to God throughout the day. It became that for her. So it was like more this present continuous prayer, like where I'm consulting with God throughout the day, just like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What should I do here? Need wisdom with that. I don't know. I think it's different for each person, but yeah, no, that had a lot of impact on me. You'll learn a lot from it. I certainly did.
I definitely agree. I mean, this again goes back to my whole point of like suffocating your intuition or your moments with God, whatever it is. Like if you're constantly stimulating yourself and not letting yourself just sit with your mind and sit with your thoughts, you're never going to get those insights. So this just like proves that point even more.
So good, man. That's so good, bro. I love that suffocating your intuition. It's like being too busy will do that, right?
What do you keep clicking?
Yeah.
Stop.
I'm not clicking anything. Dude, what do you hear?
You hear it too, right, Dan?
Yeah, I can. It's just like weird banging around. I don't know. You're like fiddling with something.
Yeah, bro.
I'm sorry.
As he's talking about
I
I
cannot even touch my table while I'm on a podcast. I gotta keep my hands away from my table. I'm so sorry for the clicking noise, guys.
No worries.
Golly.
So yeah, man, so like we talked about, past, present, faith. So what's next? Like, you gotta, kind of get out of your own way, and we get that. But what's the vision now? Like, we're already halfway through the year, man. Like it just happened today, right? Today?
Yeah.
Like this is the halfway mark.
Yeah, whatever.
So what's next?
Yeah. Well, again, like I did have a big insight around that, like, I've been quite literally cock-blocking myself on what I want to do and what I actually feel called to do and what I enjoy doing. So yeah, I'm, we're still running the agency. We're still helping people kind of build out the YouTube and email side. Nothing's happening there, but I'm going to be building out a different arm to it where we basically help people just install the systems that we've used over the years. And then, yeah, like we'll package it all up, install in other people's businesses, place people if we have to, and just consult them through it.
Cool. So
we've done it.
So currently it's a done for you model, and now you're going to be like business in a box branch.
Basically, yeah, just like productizing the entire thing. A, it's going to allow us to have more leverage, but then B, like more people are just going to get access to it. It's going to be able to get implemented much faster. They'll get our eyes on it. They'll get my team's eyes on it. They'll get constant support with it. And yeah, again, like my thing is that the reason why I love working with coaches is because they truly have like the biggest potential to change people's lives. And ever since I got into the space, one of my favorite podcasts was Born to Impact by Joel Marion, also a Christian guy. I don't know if you guys listen to it. I recommend, but like, it's just helping people out, just pouring into people. And that's why I love working with coaches, because they basically do that. So if we can magnify their message and their impact, we do our job. And I haven't been taking that to the biggest potential possible by doing everything done for you. So yeah, it's really all about building leverage and placing our systems in other people's businesses so they can see the results that we are seeing.
So higher volume, lower price point, higher leverage?
Not necessarily a lower price point, but basically like, yeah, just higher leverage, higher volume, and like allowing for, I guess, more growth on both our perspectives. They're not, the businesses that we work with, they're not limited by our own limitations. Like, we can place talent if they need to, but then also, we're not limited in our own capacity of fulfilling on certain things. It's like, again, we have the information, we have the systems. It's just now we just need to get it into more people's hands.
Hmm.
And so, Are you going back on your like? I don't want to have to manage a team. Or are you going to start scaling a team, or what are you going to do, man?
No, I've actually enjoyed having a team. Again, I
It just
was
wasn't
going
the
back to my
right.
point of just
It wasn't the right mechanism before. Yeah.
it wasn't the right mechanism, but I was also like assigning a story to my 18 and 19-year-old self and the experience I had. Like, of course, I was going to be a bad leader. Like, what did I expect? But like 3, 4, 5 years later, like, did I really expect the same issues? Like, no, I'm much wiser. I have much more experience. I have things to look back on and mistakes to learn from. And I've actually enjoyed, yeah, having a team. So, and same thing again, like I can't do everything alone. I mean, again, going back to the topic, Jesus, he had disciples. Am I arrogant enough to think that I can do everything myself? No, like, and that's the same realization I've had. I've had to really overcome my ego because it's been really hard to let go as I built the team. But also recently, like my gap in my thinking was like, I don't have to know everything. I don't have to understand everything to actually do it. Like there are people smarter than me, better than me. The goal as a leader is to put together a team of talented people that are better than you and to align them on the same vision. That's it.
How many people on your team?
And just kind of be the mascot of the company. It's like going back to your point, Kevin, about focusing on the three things. It's like really those three things. It's like nurture your team, put together the talent, focus on product and just being the mascot of your brand. And then, yeah, just go like that's it.
Yep. How many people on your team?
I've only got two.
Oh,
I don't need a big team right now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's
What's
awesome,
like
bro.
what's like that next what's that next hire? What's that role that's going to take you to the next level?
To be fair, so I don't know yet. But the first place that my mind goes to is just like someone that's like a higher level consultant. And honestly, I don't even think I might not need to make a hire for that. It's really just putting someone in place that can oversee X amount of clients that can help guide them throughout the way alongside
So
of
like
me.
a CSM.
So kinda, yeah, like basically, yeah, growth consultant, CSM, whatever you want to call them. So yeah, that's kind of the next person, basically an expert in their field.
Cool, man. So you said it's just two people. That's you and two people, or just you and
Yeah.
another person. Cool.
Me and two people, yeah.
Cool. And you don't do much of the fulfillment. They handle most of that.
Yeah, they do all the fulfillment.
You
Yeah,
can't do.
I
You can't
just
do both.
do the.
Like it's not. Even if you can, you shouldn't.
No, I've learned that through my freelancing days. You get burned. Your bandwidth is so limited. Like as soon as I pass off the fulfillment, I've realized how much I enjoy actually like the consulting side of things, and like the ideas just started coming because I wasn't so exhausted from all the things I had to do. It was just like
Yeah.
I was pulling ideas left, right, and center. I was like, yeah, do this, and to me it sounded obvious, but to them it was like, oh, that's smart. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Dude, isn't it so interesting once you're in that consulting coach seat, like you're able to, it's like the single friend who has the best dating advice, right? It's like you're in that consulting seat and then all of a sudden like all of these ideas just come. And then I remember when I was managing the sales team, I was helping these other coaches, like I've still got tons of screenshots from just results that I helped them produce, like, pay in fulls after sales call, coaching calls, call reviews, and stuff like that. And then I'm looking, I'm like, wait a second, why am I having such a hard time helping me do what I help my clients do? You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't know what it is about being in that flow state, about being in the position of coaching, but it's just like some people are better at identifying for other people where they need to.
Bro, at the end of the day, you're just giving yourself advice in the mirror when you're coaching people. It's just crap that you're not getting out of your own way to do yourself. You already know it all. That's why you're able to help other people do it. You know what needs to be done. You're just in your own way.
In the seat, the opportunity for it to come out comes out, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
So, so what? Like a new leg of the business. Cool, man. Awesome. And like personally, like what's next? Like we talk so much about business, but like you're a whole person outside of your business, bro.
Dude, yeah. I mean, personally, I got so many exciting things. So as I mentioned, so me and my girlfriend have been dreaming since we were 18 years old. When I was at a different city for university, would FaceTime and create these like itineraries, like of a world trip. So, and at the time, again, I was like, I'm going to be a physiotherapist. I don't know how I'm going to afford this, but I'll figure it out. So now we're actually July 30th, we're leaving for a full year. So I'm proper digital nomading. She's quitting her job. Props to her. We're just going to go travel for a year, actually fulfill the dream that we had since we were 18.
That's awesome, man. Congrats.
So that's super exciting. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to see what comes out of that, because every time I travel, there's a lot of really great insights that come, and I'm always forced to focus on the essentials instead of the non-essentials. So
where's the one place that you're like most excited about that you haven't been yet?
Oh, that I haven't been yet. So I think Nice is definitely up there, south of France. We were initially going to go to Paris, but then we didn't know the Olympics were happening in Paris right as we were going to be there. So we changed up the plan a little bit. But yeah, if you weren't going to say that I haven't been to yet, I would have said Dubai. I've been there twice now. We're going there again for a month in December, and we'll be there for our anniversary over the New Year's. And yeah, but Nice, Dubai, and I'm super interested in seeing Cape Town as well.
Awesome. Cool, man. Yeah, I mean, I think we're getting close to time here. What else you got, guys?
Well, Dan, unless you have anything off the top of your head that you just want to share, story, insight, wisdom.
Yeah, how about this? Why don't we do this? Tell us, we've gone through, tell us something interesting. I pulled this from Kill Tony. Tell us something interesting about you that nobody, most people won't know. Whether it be something that happened to you or like a hobby. What's that?
It's like, I sometimes I'll go on a walk and I'll be like, that two truths and a lie icebreaker. I hate that one because it's like I always struggle to think of something on the spot. Yeah, I don't know.
What's your superpower? What do you think is the one thing that God gave you that got you to the level of success that you're at now?
So I think it's just ambition. I don't know if it's just because I'm young, but even when I was 3-4 years old, again, going back to the whole dream of always playing pro, actually there's this one thing. It's the willingness and the ability to not settle. I don't know what it is about me, but I have such a deep belief that I'm destined for something. God put me on for a reason. I'm not here to just do average things. There is big purpose here, and I'm meant to do something with my life. I've known this as a kid. Again, going back to the whole thing is it was either going to be hockey. At least that's what I thought at the time. Then the injury happened and whatnot, and I was kind of trying to find myself. But even with business now, I'm like, this is it. So I think Hermosi said this, I think, but it's just there's the 3 traits, whatever, to every successful person. But it's actually, wow, I say this now, I don't actually remember it, but it's there's impulse control, there's kind of that, oh my God, what is it? Yeah. I think you said crippling sense of insecurity that you're not doing enough, but then also just that undying belief that you're meant for something bigger. It's this weird paradox where you feel like you're not doing enough, but at the same time, that you're going to achieve something big.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and it's just dude, I don't know about you, but I think the third one is from the outside looking in, it's a inflated delusion of self self-worth, but not self-worth, but just this delusion that nothing is impossible for you.
Yeah.
Right? And
just
that, and people who don't have that, they look at you and they think oh, he's so arrogant. It's not arrogance, dude.
Yeah.
It's not arrogance.
Yeah.
It's just that I will not settle for a mediocre life.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, there's this expectation. That's what faith is. It's this. At the end of the day, a lot of people confuse the word faith, but really, there's a faith in God, faith in myself, a faith about what's going to happen for me in this life, because I expect it, I anticipate this to happen.
If God has faith in you, why would you not have faith in yourself? That's what I just took from what you said.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm a big believer that anyone is capable of, and it's just so cliche to say, but it's like anyone is capable of everything. Like me and my girlfriend's dad, we were talking, and I remember at one point he mentioned just off the cuff, he's like, "Oh yeah, but like." He was basically insinuating that it almost takes an X factor to do what I'm doing, and I kind of get where he's coming from. Like, yeah, not everyone's capable, or not everyone's able to do it, but I wholeheartedly disagree with them. I was like, that's not true. Like, I don't have an X factor. I just stuck with it. I mean, as through the story that I just told you guys, like, I could have given up at any point, and then yeah,
it's this insatiable pursuit of like, like you're gonna have to kill me for me to stop.
Yep.
That's it.
I heard this quote, you better send the flowers because I'm going to die trying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like what did Will Smith said, like, I don't care if I'm older than you or what. He's like, if I'm on the treadmill next to you, like, I'm going to have to die before I get off before you.
Yeah. No, 100%. So
it's on the sauna people.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to pass out before it comes up. Yeah. No, seriously though, like that's it. It's
dude,
like,
it's so funny just imagining you and like one other person in the sauna, like sitting across from each other, having like a sauna standoff, and like half dead, like, I'm not leaving unless you do first.
What cracks me up is that like the person would leave, but then someone new would replace him, and Josh would be like, "Well, now I have to compete with this guy." Yeah.
You guys know me too well. Get out of my head, creeps.
So what is your guys like? What's your guys' like history? How do you guys know each other?
I think we got connected because we were in some coaching program together at one point.
Oh, okay.
I have no clue. I have no clue. I don't even know. I think it's just through Facebook. I probably just, one of us added each other. We just saw each other's content, and then that's just how it works.
Yeah. You know, at some point, especially when you get plugged in with like one coach that's in this online consulting space, like, you know, Taylor Welch, like Kevin and I know each other from high ticket coaching, and then like Sam Evans, you got like Jason Capital, you know, all the big dogs, right? And at some degree, everybody's connected, and then I think that there's just, once you're plugged into that network, you're in that, what is that, like the 8th degree of connection to everybody in the world. Like, you know, once you're in that circle, you're like 2 or 3 connections away from everybody. And so, I don't know, but we may have been in some similar program at some point, but yeah. I don't know, I know that we have been following each other on Facebook for at least a couple of years. And
it was awesome connecting with you, man. It was nice meeting you. It was a great interview, man. It'd be cool to find a way if maybe we can find some mutual benefit to like help each other out in business somehow, and make some money together. But if not, it was nice to meet you either way.
No, definitely. I mean, I appreciate the podcast. I appreciate it because it's like every other podcast I've been doing has been kind of the same.
Yeah. They're all,
but this actually got way deeper, and I was like, this is so, as soon as I saw that it was scheduled for 2 hours, I was like, oh, this is going to be a good one.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, our focus here, man, is like, dude, like, like, we're in the AI space. We could have just as easily been like corny and been like, oh, this is an AI podcast. Like, come on. Like, dude, we just want somebody, we want founders, entrepreneurs to just have a space where they can come, like, dude, this is the locker room talk, man. This is like where we like, or like, you sit down and have cigars in the country club. Like, this is the VIP lounge where like, and we're doing it publicly. That's what, because most people won't. Like, so there's nothing off limits, and it's like, we want to go deep. No homo. Like,
pause. Diddy.
No, it's great that you guys are like faith-based too, because that's like what made the conversation much more interesting and deep.
Absolutely, man. There's core values.
There's like humans.
There's only a few things that are like core values that really like light people up and like really build a connection. Like, we can talk about business, cool. We can talk about like, hey, I got 3 kids, you got stuff, like, but like, unless we find something that we really like share, then it's just kind of a cool conversation.
Yep.
So
No,
love it,
definitely.
man. I appreciate that feedback too, because that's, you literally just told us like we without knowing that we're accomplishing what we set out to accomplish. So I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, no, of course. I'm glad that we were able to make it happen because, yeah, there was at one point where I was like, maybe I should just stop doing these podcasts because I'm like literally repeating the same thing over and over again. And it's like,
Yeah.
what's the
This
point?
is
But no,
boring.
this got super interesting.
Cool,
So I
appreciate
appreciate you
that.
guys.
Yeah, dude, and I feel like as we continue to do, like, we're doing 2 episodes a week, and that's gonna become like, kind of the buzz is like, dude, if you want to go on a real podcast, like, and have some real conversations, like, and I feel like we're just gonna start having guests just based on like, Dan's talking to a buddy of his, and he's like, dude, I've been on a lot of podcasts, but this is the only one that actually was like a good time, right?
Yep.
I gotta cut it off right here, though. I got a call coming in. I appreciate you guys. Later, Josh.
All
Great
right.
to meet you, Dan.
Cool. Yeah, likewise.
All right. See you, Kevin.
All right.
Bye. All right, Dan. We'll get this the recording on over to you at some point. And we're gonna obviously we'll edit it up a little bit. But you can do whatever you want with it. And then I think you submitted a form with like your links on it where people can go to find you. If not, we're gonna create like a bio. But I'm pretty sure you submitted all that when you first scheduled. Yeah.
I think so.
But it'll be promoting you. You'll put your socials on there. If you got any lead magnets that you want to include in there, we could throw those on there as well. But yeah, man, like you'll be our email guy because we're still wanting to work with you at some point soon. Like that's one of the next major items on our list is to build out our email campaigns. Kevin, all discretionary funds right now are going to get Kevin down here because once he's down here, our income's going to skyrocket because right now we just got to this point just by working like